what it is. What it is, people. How we doing? All right. I think this Streamlab thing is actually working out a little bit better than OBS. I don't know. I watched the stream that went up yesterday and it seemed pretty good. I'm happy. Happy. I hope you all are too. For all you out there that are enjoying your home day, I hope it's going well for you. You're over halfway through. So, you got that going for you, which is nice, right? Here we are. I'm just laughing my ass off because it's another day of this goofball shit going on. I just kind of got I didn't get twisted off, but I kind of sent a little bit of it wasn't even scathing. I was just factual, And I really want to quit talking about the Pelosi thing, but I'm not doing it because these people just keep pushing it about this guy being, somehow related to J6 and that the guy was some kind of a, crazy ass QAnon right-wing Republican when you were talking about a legal immigrant from Canada who's homeless. Well, he's got a bus. Apparently that's what they say. Who knows what the fucking truth is? He's a nudist, Castro nudist. The mother of his children, she's in prison right now in California for abduction of a 14-year-old boy. I still haven't been able to get to the bottom of that. But yeah, I tell you what, the news media, the mainstream media out there, they sure knew where to find her right away and cite her as some kind of a credible source. And I mean, I don't know about you, but she got married out on the, right downtown San Francisco in the nude to some weird little goofball. And in DePape was right there videotaping it all. And there's even a picture where he's holding both their hands and she's sitting there, she's got a veil on, she's naked. Some squirrely little San Franciscan guy that looked like they probably found him out in Golden Gate Park somewhere out there in the bushes or the trees or something, The whole thing doesn't make sense. These are tree people. These are subterranean bottom dwellers. Just your typical weirdos. I mean, there's something off here, big time. You've got the chief of police, Chief Scott, comes out and does his press conference. And I know I've gone over this. I'm sitting here hitting a dead horse in the head with a hammer. But I can't believe that these people out here in the media just can't get over it. And I'm seeing all this clickbait too, This one guy, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if I can say that or not. I'd like to call this guy out. He's another YouTuber. He's got way more subscribers than I do. And his, the little piece that he put out said, Trump sick and deadly sick and disturbing video. Well, all he did was play a call with Trump. And Trump is saying the same thing. He's like, obviously that glass was busted out from the inside. He said it doesn't look good, and I mean, he wasn't saying, it doesn't look good. And Musk, he puts out a tweet yesterday and he ends up taking it down, but it turned out to be pretty much, there's maybe some of it that's a little bit questionable, but when the police show up and you got two guys in their underwear, and I zoomed in, and I should see if I can find this photo so you all can see it. I don't know if anybody has looked into this as much as I have. I just find it ironic that this Pelosi guy, this 82-year-old man, just keeps managing to make himself right there in the funny papers, And then the alleged passenger in his Porsche on August 28th when he got the DUI. I'm not saying it's this. I'm not saying it's the guy or anything like that. I'm just saying it's kind of weird because it seems that both of these cases allegedly had somebody else fleeing. Now, if you look up the back of the house, let me see if I can find this photo, and if I can, we'll bring it in. They should have this. I mean, this photo is everywhere. It should be easily accessible, but I'll probably end up getting on the San Francisco Chronicle and they'll want money from me to, just to look at it. Oh, there was one that I found yesterday. Anyway, you could see it looked like somebody had literally dove out of the screen. It looked like you've got a series of, there's three sets of French doors. So you got 6 doors on what I'm guessing is the back of the home. It's hard to even tell where the front is. There's a garage door, looks like either a 2 or a 3 car garage. Oh, it's in Pacific Heights. It actually looks like it's probably not too far from what I've spent some time in San Francisco. It looks like I'm not familiar with exactly where it's at, but it's around like the Lombard Street, I don't know if any of you guys have been there. Lombard Street is the one that, it's got all the crazy switchbacks. Really cool, city street to drive up. San Francisco is a cool city anyhow. I used to love going there. You won't find me there now, though. No way. I don't want to go out there and play with a bunch of feces and just, there was always weirdos there before, but it's gotten bad. There's a good one. This is from, trying not to catch any kind of copyright shit, but I suppose if it's on here and it says it's coming up as Google Images, then I think that most of that stuff is Creative Commons. Just want to see if we can zoom in on this guy a little bit. There we go. All right, hang on while I pull this up. Where's it at? There we go. All right, I'll open this up a little bit. Oh, now I'm moving myself around the screen. That's good. Good job, Mike. You dummy. See, I need help. I need help. Here we go. I just want to open this up a little bit so you guys can take a look. Okay, so if you can see my mouse or my little hand, look at that right there. What's going on right here? To me, that looks like a shredded screen. Unless that's some kind of a plexiglass or something like that. But you can see there's, each one of these doors has, these separate windows. This one's obviously busted out. It looks like somebody dove out of that. And let me get back up on this thing and we'll zoom out a little bit. There's some debris and shit inside, but come on. That's not going to let me zoom out. All right. Well, we didn't want to do that. Anyways, there's all that, come on, get off there. God damn it. I tell you what, I'm struggling. All right, we're back. Anyway, that to me looks like a window screen. It looks like somebody either dove out. Okay, so number one, all right, Paul Pelosi supposedly after the fact made the call. Well, they had plenty of time. Okay, the call came in at 2:27, I believe, was when the police responded. I think if I'm correct, the press report or the press conference was around 10:30 a.m. It would have been, there was a sticky wicket there because obviously you got a guy that's got to go to the hospital. Now they said both men went to the hospital. Why did DePape? Why did he have to go to the hospital? Why was he in his underwear? It's just a little bit weird. You don't go breaking into somebody's home with a couple of hammers. They said he had an additional hammer in a bag with duct tape and zip ties. And he apparently told police that he allegedly told police he was going to break Nancy Pelosi's kneecaps. And then he was yelling, "Where's Nancy?" But he went upstairs. Now, I don't know how he would know to go upstairs. I don't know. How long was he in the house? Somebody, either there's no surveillance at this house, which I find it hard to believe because there are also photos of the vandalism that's been done to that home. Somebody put a pig's head with blood out front. There's graffiti all over the garage door that they had to have obviously repainted or put a new garage door up or something. There's been a number of, they said they did something with hanging hair dryers. I don't know what that's all about. But apparently they hung a bunch of hair dryers up out front. These weirdos, these San Francisco mungellans, I don't know. These people are just spooky, dumpster people that just shit on the streets and have no, I don't know. They got no shame. Wander around naked. Anyway, the one photo is of the DePape, and he's taking a photo of, or he's videotaping this nude wedding, and apparently, allegedly, this ex-girlfriend of his, who's the mother of his children, or at least one child, I believe the article said children, the one that's locked up for abduction of a 14-year-old boy from Berkeley. The boy, she was marrying some little, looked like kind of a drowned nutria type guy, but just like a kind of like a, when people say like the term wild man of Borneo, kind of like that. He had writing, he had marker all over his chest, and he was just prouder than a pig and shit. Like, I don't know if it was all just staged or what. And the big boy, the DePape, was standing there. There's one picture of him standing there holding it, and he towers over everybody, right? Like he's a big dude. Don't get me wrong. And they say he's got problems, and I don't doubt that. He definitely looks like he's got some issues. They say he's a drug addict, been homeless. They say he's living in a circus tent or a bus or some shit. Maybe it's Kamala Harris's yellow bus. You know how she likes those yellow buses, especially when they don't have diesel fuel in them. When they're electric buses, because it takes way less fossil fuels to make electric buses than it does to drive around in diesel. I don't know when she doesn't even understand how to speak in front of people. I mean, there's no, you can't fix, you can't fix stupid. That's the problem, is you can't rationalize with stupid. You can rationalize with a person that's malicious. You can rationalize with a person that's malevolent. You can even rationalize with a person that's a little bit evil. But stupid is just something that it's, Baxter Black used to talk about arguing with idiots, the old cowboy poet. And he was great. I saw him a few times here in Cody. I doubt he's still around. I think he probably passed on because he was getting up there, but they don't make him like him anymore. But he had there was a part of one of his talks that he was giving where he was talking about arguing with idiots, and Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, also spoke quite a bit about that. Mark Twain, who spent quite a bit of time in this same area in San Francisco. He was also out there at the Bohemian Grove, which is north of Frisco, which is kind of weird. That place is spooky, but we won't get into that. Anyway, with Kamala, you can't fix stupid. There's just there's no way that doesn't get fixed, and that's the problem. We've got so many stupid people. We have stupid people in charge of everything right now. I mean, we do. I mean, you look out there at global, leadership across the board, right? And it's pretty fucking shaky. I mean, we got the Gooney Trudeau up in Canada, Mexico can't get their shit together, obviously, which, whatever. South America, Central America, problems. Venezuela's problems are a lot of those are on us, though. There's a country that we didn't like their leadership, and so we decided to sanction the fucking living shit out of them. And even though they have more petroleum than any other country on the planet, even more than Saudi Arabia, we basically said they can't sell it anywhere. And so, they want to blame it all on socialism and everything. Max Blumenthal did a piece on Venezuela during the whole Madero and Juan Guaido thing down there, and he was in Caracas in a grocery store, with his cart filming, and he was able to buy everything that the shelves weren't empty. The shelves were less empty down there than they are here at Walmart in this town. I mean, and that's what we're looking at. And we've got, this nonsense. And something like this stupid Pelosi story, right? So what set me running with this again today was seeing this guy. And like I said, I wish I could put him on blast, but I'm not going to. Because I don't know. I don't know what the ethics are on that on YouTube. Like, I see people do it all the time, but I'm not gonna go down that. I don't want to do that. I don't know the guy personally. I do know that he obviously put this video out because he hates Trump, which is fine. Whatever, you want to hate Trump. That's fine. I mean, I don't even hate Biden. I just don't like him. I don't hate him. I don't wish him anything ill. I don't want to, I wish he wasn't in office. But then again, I wish that the majority of the people that are in public office and calling the shots weren't there. So, like I said, other than a couple of them, there's not really any of them that I see that are really worth much. Then you just got a bunch of people that are filling suits and taking money from us, passing bills that takes money from us, taking resources from us. I was looking at pictures of Kensington, Pennsylvania today, because I've kind of been sitting here going, what's wrong with Pennsylvania? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And Pennsylvania just keeps coming up in the news and everything, man. And I'm looking at it going, what the fuck is going on out there? And I've watched a few documentaries on Kensington, and that is one of the worst places on the planet. It is just full of trash. They call it zombie land. Everybody's on fentanyl or heroin or a combination of God knows what, just drug addicts. They're just living on the streets. It's got to get cold in Philadelphia in the wintertime. It's got to be a terrible, I mean, I've always thought if you're going to be homeless, well, you should get your ass down to Arizona or somewhere south. I never understood that when I lived in Seattle. All the homeless people there, it's like, how are you, you got to be able to get south. I mean, they make a lot of money panhandling. When I lived in Portland, I worked at East Delta Park, right there around the Jansen Beach area, right before you go over the river into Washington, into Vancouver. And we just called the west end of the park was right by the 76 station and right by the off-ramp. We called it Bum Hill. And those cats would just sit there all day, and they'd take turns going and sit on a bucket. And I'd be out there on my mower doing whatever. And, I mean, I'd watch them. They'd come running down the thing. I mean, they took care of each other, though. I tell you that. One guy would go up there, and he'd get a $100 bill, $50 bill. He'd come back. The rest of the bums would be sitting there in the shade, just laying around, And we always had to bark at them because they'd leave their beer bottles out there in the grass, and then it's a huge field, right? So sometimes you just get put on autopilot when you're riding one of those mowers, and then all of a sudden you mow over a glass bottle, And we didn't bag the grass. It was a big, huge, city park. It just mulched it. So then I have to go over there and bark at them a little bit. Tell them, hey, look, guys, you guys got to, at least pick your beer bottles up. Don't leave them laying around out here because I'm going to mow them over, and there's little kids coming out here on the weekends playing soccer and that, But they took care of each other, and they made a lot of money at it, They did. So I don't know where I was going with that. I kind of lost my way. Train of thought. Anyhow, I guess we're talking. Oh, I was talking about Kensington. See, these are the problems that we should be looking at. These are the things that should be discussed. These are the things that these politicians should be. That should be what their, platform. Like, this is my platform. Is like, I'm going to end homelessness, right? Not like more war. I mean, we're in Syria. We're in Ethiopia for some fucking reason. Somalia, Syria. We know why we're in Syria. I mean, and now, apparently, I don't think that there's any way that we don't have people inside of Ukraine. I don't believe that for a damn sight. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think so. I mean, and then, the whole NATO thing, Biden when he went over there. And when are we going to stop funding when are we going to stop sending him places? He doesn't need to go anywhere. He just needs to stay. He'd be better off to just go back to Delaware and just stay there. Just stay there, and he can conduct whatever meaningless business he has to conduct. He can do with a Zoom call. I mean, they already have a fake studio set up for some reason that's not even in the White House. So they've recreated the press room in a place that's, I'm guessing it's still on the property technically, but it's not in the building. And from what I heard, it was in order to accommodate the teleprompter that he needs. Why couldn't they have? Why do you recreate something just for a teleprompter? I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make much sense to me. But then there's photos and stuff where you look out the window where he's supposedly in the Oval Office, and you'll look out and there's like construction going on, and then you'll see another one and it's like trees and grass, like totally different scene outside. It's like what's going on here? And you got the cackler. You got him. He gets up there yesterday, I believe it was, and this was on Benny Johnson's show that I saw earlier today, and he was pointing out, just to give credit where credit's due, I didn't do this detective work myself, so it's all on Benny. He's got a pretty good show. Check it out. Biden's up there and on the back of his hand, right? You wouldn't see it on my hands, but like on the back of his hand, right here, there's a big, huge wound. Now, has anybody ever had an IV put in their hand? You ever seen an elderly person with an IV in their hand? You ever seen what's left when they pull it out? Have you ever seen a track mark of a heroin addict? It's the same type of thing. Joe's got one clearly on what would be his left hand. And like Benny said, okay, he's 80 years old. Maybe he's dehydrated. Maybe they're hooking him up to an IV, getting him some potassium, some magnesium, getting him on a bag, Maybe that's what's going on. Or maybe they're hot. I mean, who knows? I don't know. It's all speculation on my part, but I can tell you what, he's right. Because I've seen that. I mean, I've seen it. And I've seen, this is not just a one-time deal either. This is a repeated deal, because you can tell the difference. I mean, when you see a heroin addict that's got a track mark, it's a pretty nasty wound when they keep shooting up the same place. I've seen dudes shoot up between their toes and shit. Me, yeah, I know it sounds funny, but I don't like needles. Like, I tattoo the shit out of myself. Tattoo needles, that's one thing. I don't mind. But like as far as going inside, like into your, intravenous, like IV needle, like, yeah, I don't like shots. Ugh. But Joe's obviously, he's got that wound. Let's see if I can find a picture of that. So he's obviously, and we should know. Like Benny was saying, the American people should know what's going on with him. He said he showed it to a doc. There was a doc on Tucker Carlson that was talking about it. It's obviously he's getting shot up with something. And this isn't the first time that it's been apparent. You'd think they'd put some makeup on it. You wouldn't want to put a Band-Aid over it or anything, but you'd think they'd have some way of covering it up. So it's not just out there, but his staff is terrible, though. Joe Biden's staff is garbage. They've done a terrible job with him. And they shouldn't be hiring interns for a guy like Joe Biden either. They need professionals. Like, they need people that know how to, like, literally, he has to be severely supervised, like, more so than, like, a kindergartner, I don't know. He gets off point, gets off that teleprompter and gets going on shit. He said the other day that he had met with the guy that came up with insulin for diabetes. Okay. The man won a Nobel Peace Prize in the 20s, I think 1921, for insulin. He died in 1941. Joe Biden was born in 1942. He gets up there and says that he met with the guy. And the guy didn't want to patent it because he wanted everybody to have it. All the more reason to patent it. If you don't patent it, then somebody else is going to come along and do it, and then you end up paying what you're paying for insulin right now, folks. But he lies about everything. He said he met with the person. He met with the guy. When? When he was in utero? How's that work? How were you born in 1942 and you had a meeting with somebody that died in 1941? But that's all fine, right? That's all fine. And then I watch his character. He puts out a video today about, he has a total clickbait thing. It says Trump dead, sick, or dying, disturbing video, all in caps. Of course, I'm like, okay, what's this? And so it's just an audio interview, and Trump, he sounds a little congested, maybe. The man's almost 80 years old himself. I mean, he can run circles around Biden. I mean, it's okay to get a little congested and have a cold. I mean, it happens. The dude's all over the place. He's all over the country. You think about how many germs Trump gets exposed to. He's going into these places. He's selling out football stadiums. He's bringing in people. There's people outside that can't get into these arenas, these stadiums, these different venues. Think of all those germs all over the country. I mean, I'll give you an example of how this works. When I went in the feds, you go through transport on Con Air, right? So I went from Missoula, Montana to Great Falls, Montana, to SeaTac, to Oklahoma City, to Victorville, to TI. San Bernardino was in the middle of that somewhere too. Okay, when you finally get to prison after all that, guess what? You get sick as a dog. Like, I got really sick, and they won't give you any antibiotics. They just say, go get some ibuprofen off the commissary. That's all they do, I mean, I was hacking up fluorescent phlegm and had a sinus infection and the flu-like symptoms, and I mean, just terrible, awful sick. But came through it and was fine. So this guy, Trump, is exposed to all this shit. He's all over the goddamn planet, I mean, traveling around at 80 years old. I mean, or he's pushing it. I don't know how old's Trump? What, 77, 78? He's damn near 80. I mean, the guy can get a cold. It's not like he's deathly dying, disturbing, sick, whatever the fuck this guy's talking about. And all Trump was saying was the same thing that I've been saying. The funny thing is that I'm the guy sitting out here in the middle of Wyoming, and I was one of the first ones to be out talking about this. I listened to the first little bit of this whole thing with Paul Pelosi and was just like, wait a minute, this is not making sense. And it doesn't. And where's the I heard one audio leak from within the San Francisco Police Department in which I believe it was dispatch talking to one of the officers that was going to the scene and said that the PR, which would be a person reporting, which was Pelosi. Now, I still don't understand why Chief Scott called this he called it an A priority well-being check. Why would he call it that if Paul Pelosi was the one on the other end of the line? Because somebody calling in on a B&E, if they're in the middle of a B&E in their home, they're not going to refer to it as a well-being check or a welfare check or anything of the matter. They're going to be like, yeah, we have a victim of a B&E in progress at such and such address. And when he does the press conference, he slowed down and he reiterated that. Okay, I'm going to see if I can pull that up just because I don't know if everybody listened to this, but I mean, he made it a point. He made it a point to iterate this. Like he chose his words very carefully. And of course, you're going to do that when you're the guy that's up there in front of everybody because, obviously, you're not trying to get caught up in something like this. And I think I'm the only one that's called this out. I've not heard anybody else call this out. The fact of the matter is you don't call a welfare check on yourself. Anybody ever done that? You ever called the cops on yourself? I guess there's some people that have, but it's not usual. And it would be abnormal for somebody in Paul Pelosi's position to do something like that, to call a welfare check on themselves. Typically, it's somebody if they think they're ODing, maybe, I guess. But then you're calling in with a medical thing. It's not like a welfare check is put in place to make sure somebody's okay. If you have a family member in another town that all of a sudden they're out of contact and you have no way of checking on them, and you don't know anybody in the town, if you have an elderly person in your life that you typically talk to, I know we went over this, but I mean, that's what it's for. And then this dude gets charged with elderly abuse too, this DePape. Elderly abuse is a charge that comes about from somebody who you have to know the elderly person that you're being charged with abusing. Just breaking into an old person's house and smacking them in the head with a hammer, that's not elderly abuse. It's certainly it's assault with a deadly weapon, and it's depending on the premeditation level of it, it's it could be an attempted murder 1 or 2, attempted homicide, I think is what they're getting. This dude's going to do life in prison. He's 42 years old. Regardless of what anybody, myself included, thinks of Nancy Pelosi, which I don't have very high regard for, but she is the third in line of succession to the president, which in a normal year would make her the third most powerful person on the planet. However, I don't think that's the case now, because I don't look at Biden as being the most powerful man on the planet. That's for sure. I mean, he just eats ice cream and falls off of stationary bikes and falls upstairs and says goofy shit every single time. I mean, his staff, from what I understand, is that his wife is the one that vets, or she goes through with all these staff members. And I get, from what I understand, and this is allegedly, this is what I understand, is that, back behind the curtain or whatever, when he's in front of the podium, there's a whole team of people back there just yelling, no, shut up, stop talking, don't talk, stop, I mean, they don't do a very good job of getting him ready, but then maybe they can't. I mean, the dude is obviously, I was listening to a doctor who was speaking about the physical examination they did. And he said it was really odd that there was nothing in there about any kind of cognitive function. And he said, for the most part, he goes, I'm doing an exam. If I don't have any reason to think that somebody needs to have, questions asked to check their cognitive functions, then I probably wouldn't. But he goes, in this case, and there was nothing on the report about any of that. I mean, how can you not ask that guy from what I understand, his staff puts an index card, just like what I take notes on. I take one of these, and every morning or whenever he's getting his little suit coat on, there's a card in there that he can access. It tells him his wife's name, where he lives. I mean, this dude can't remember that he's waking up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I mean, what more famous location is there on the planet than the White House? I'm sure maybe we could throw some out. I don't know. But if that's where you woke up, would you remember your address? And if not, then that shows that you definitely have some serious cognitive decline. And that's all I'm saying, is that the dude is not mentally fit for this. And he's got the keys, I mean, he's got the keys. At least we know that he probably can't remember the nuclear codes. I suppose that's a good thing. I mean, if you want somebody in charge of those, I guess that's the guy that you want, because he ain't going to remember it. But the scary thing is who's running him. I mean, none of these Democrats, they don't want him around for their campaigns. They don't want him showing up. He shows up for that Fetterman. Oh, boy. Oh, God, that one gives me a headache. Seeing those two up there. I mean, it's like, it doesn't get any more stupid than that. And I'm sorry Fetterman had a stroke. Okay, but you know what? He shouldn't be out there. In Pennsylvania, what is going on when you got a TV doctor and a guy that wears sweatpants and has been a trust fund baby his entire life, somehow managed to become your lieutenant governor at some point? Pennsylvania, what's going on out there with you? What's happening with you, Pennsylvania? I know some good cats from Pennsylvania, and I just don't know that Pennsylvania's in the news all the time. It's just like, dude, what the hell is going on out there? I mean, between Philadelphia and all the rest of this nonsense, I mean, you got people that are fleeing. I mean, they're leaving that place. They're leaving that place just like they're leaving New York City. I mean, they're leaving New York City like crazy. All right, I'm going to see if I can find an abbreviated version of this. I don't want to listen to the whole goddamn thing. Oh, well, we might have to listen to a little bit of this. I suppose I can pull this up. All right. Let's see what we got here. I'm probably going to do some fast forwarding.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Scott and District Attorney Brooke Jenkins.
All right, let's just...
Out of the doorway threshold, gave command.
Okay, let's go back a little bit here.
And they observed Mr.
Oh, all right.
And there's a lot that we still need to dig into.
Okay.
So when the officers arrived and knocked on the front door of the residence this morning, the door was opened by someone inside, and the officers observed through the open door Mr. Pelosi and the suspect, Mr. DePape, inside the entryway of the home.
Okay, if you're wondering how I just paused that, I'm going to do a little plug here. I've got a thing called the Elmore pedal that I got for playing guitar, and this is a very cool thing. It is a pedal that you can plug in, runs on Bluetooth, and so I've committed to. I've always played guitar, right, but not very well, and I still don't play very well. But I've committed to playing at least an hour every day, and so I got this. This is called the Elmore pedal. Very cool. What this does is I can put this on the ground, okay, and when I'm playing the guitar, it's right there at my foot, and it hooks up to my computer through the Bluetooth, and it's got two buttons, two switches on each side. One I can fast forward with, the other one I can rewind, and I can pause videos and rewind them, which, sorry, while I put that back down there, is very nice because for those of you that do play guitar, let's say you're sitting here and you're playing, and then and I watch a lot of tutorial videos, right? And so I'm always taking my hand off it, and then I go and I set my pick down, right? So I set my pick down, and inevitably it gets lost, and then I can't find it, and then I get distracted, and now all I have to do is just with my foot, and we're going to start the video back, I just do this, right? Look, no hands. Maybe. All right, what did I do? Hit the wrong button. Then this happens. You know, it might be because I moved, you know what it is? I moved the cursor, that's why. So it's looking at the...
home.
There we go. Anyway.
At this time, the officers...
So there, if I got the cursor up there on the monitor, because I've got two monitors here. I've got one here and then one up above. So anyway.
Remain outside of the threshold of the home, and they observed Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePape each with one hand on a single hammer. It was one hammer that the officer observed.
Oh, this is a revision. Okay.
Officers, while still outside of the doorway threshold, gave commands to both men to drop the hammer. Mr. DePape immediately pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently attacked him with the hammer. The officers immediately entered, tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took the hammer away from him, and took the suspect, Mr. DePape, into custody. They requested emergency backup, and they rendered medical aid. I can confirm that Mr. DePape forced entry into a rear door at the rear of the Pelosi home. And I'd like to reemphasize the quick response and actions of our officers.
Yeah, that was a very quick reaction. I doubt that there's any place, anywhere in San Francisco that you could probably do a cross-reference with a dispatch call log and a officer's report log for an evening and find a 2-minute response time. It's San Francisco. These officers, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to go to any calls out there either, because what are you going to, I mean, the place is a literal shithole. So they're doing the best they can. I got nothing bad to say about them. This is obviously a revision of what Chief Scott initially said. So let's see where it goes. I haven't listened to this one yet.
Officer Kobe Wilmus, Officer Kyle Cagney, and Sergeant Edmund Huang. Also, I want to reemphasize and thank our dispatcher, Heather Grimes, for her intuition, her quick thinking. She had to interpret what she was being told. And based on her experience and her intuition, she basically figured out that there was something more to this incident than what she was being told. Her actions, in my opinion, resulted in both a higher priority dispatch and a faster police response.
Now, he called it a priority. Let's see if he refers to it as that, because this is a change from what he was saying. So this is a different. They've obviously gone through. They've reformulated. Now I don't understand. The incident happened at 2:30 a.m. Yeah, it's the middle of the night. He gave the press report, the press conference, at like the initial one was like 10:30 in the morning. You know, so by the time they get, by the time they get a suspect, they said that both men went to the hospital. I don't know if that's true or not now either, because now it's changing. But if you got two guys that got to go to the hospital, and they took Pelosi to Mark Zuckerberg's hospital, which I didn't know Zuckerberg had a hospital, but apparently he does. So by the time you get him admitted, you either detain or you get the suspect, which obviously he's still detained and in custody. If he's at the hospital, he's going to be cuffed to the bed in there, or cuffed wherever he's at, whatever kind of treatment he might have needed. Maybe the officers had to get a little bit heavy-handed with him, because he's a big dude. DePape is a big guy. Every picture, everything I see of him, he's towering over people. I mean, like I'd say he's 6'5", 6'6", if I were to guess.
I think this was life-saving. Lastly, I want to thank our firefighters and paramedics from the San Francisco Fire Department, also for a quick response and transporting Mr. Pelosi for medical assistance.
Now what about DePape?
We've gotten a lot of questions about security. First of all, I want to say that the U.S. Capitol Police is responsible for protection of Speaker Pelosi.
Okay, pass the buck.
And our family. The San Francisco Police Department will assist in any way we can. I've been in contact with Chief Tom Menger of the U.S. Capitol Police. We've been in contact with his investigators and at least one of his chiefs, and we are working collaboratively. Any questions about the security of the Pelosi home should be referred to the U.S. Capitol Police. That is their responsibility, and I would ask that you refer any questions about security to them. I won't be able to answer any of those questions. We also have...
Okay, that's passing the buck. That's passing the buck. You know that you have the Speaker of the House living in your city. The Capitol Police is in D.C. So you know that Chief Scott knows what they have set up. There's no way he doesn't know. This is in his city. The U.S. Capitol Police has got to let him know what's going on there. He's got to know. How long has Pelosi been doing this? How long have they had that home? They know what's up with security there. I have done a bunch of research on it. I know that they have a couple of private security guys that, they drive around there. They interviewed one of them. People left what looked like, and whether it was a dead pig, whether it was a real pig or a fake pig, it was a pig's head in the driveway, fake blood, looked like red paint. That's not the only time that the place has been vandalized. There's kooky, spooky weirdos everywhere in San Francisco. People muttering to themselves, people talking to themselves, people yelling at the sky. even in these nice neighborhoods. I mean, it's a free-for-all out there, you know? I mean, they have a poop patrol. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to call a little bit of bullshit on what this police chief is saying right here, that he doesn't know anything about security. He has to know. He has had to have been briefed on what has been implemented at that property, that whatever security they have in place. Because, quite frankly, the Capitol Police aren't out there. There's been vandalization. There's been vandals hit the place. They've had, you know, I mean, you can't tell. I know. I've seen pictures. I know for a fact that on the front corner they've got 2 cameras. Okay, you can't tell me there's not a camera on every entrance. You can't tell me that there's not sensors on every single door, every window. I mean, it doesn't take much. You can get that through Simply Safe, ADT, any number of security companies. I don't know what the big one is in San Francisco, but I guarantee that they have security, and they have security guards, and they have bodyguards. You don't think Paul Pelosi has a fucking bodyguard? Somebody turned the shit off. Somebody turned it off, or somebody is suppressing it, or somebody's lying. And that's regardless of anything. There's somebody who's lying here. I don't think for a second that Chief Scott just told a whole truth right there. I don't think there's any way that in his city, where he is the chief of a very large police force, that he doesn't know the implementations of security at the Pelosi residence. I'd have to call bullshit on that. Well, let's get back into it.
Received questions about how many times Mr. Pelosi was struck, and there's a lot of speculation out there. What we know is he was struck at least one time. We're going through our evidence,
Okay. Here we go again. One time. Now, hey, one hit with a hammer can certainly be deadly. And judging from the height of DePape, I don't know how tall Paul Pelosi is, but judging from that dude's height, I mean, and his size, I mean, he grabs that hammer out of his hand, and I would imagine that if he pulled it out of Pelosi's hand, which I don't understand that. You got an 82-year-old man, you know, wrestling back and forth with a hammer with a 42-year-old man who's obviously very large. The dude's big. I mean, if I find myself in a wrestling match with an 82-year-old man, whatever it is that I want out of the deal, I'm going to have. And the fact that the police show up and they said they're on the outside of the threshold and they're standing there, so they haven't entered. So to me, it sounds like they're standing on the outside of that back door, which is what he said. They're looking in, and there's the 2 men wrestling over a hammer. They order him to drop the hammer. Why would that guy decide when the police are there? Why is that the time that he decides to hit Pelosi in the head? Why? Why did they say it was a welfare check? That's what he initially said. He's looking at his notes. See how often this guy's looking at his notes? I mean, it's nonstop.
evidence, and when we have a definitive answer, we can release that. But right now, we don't. So we know he was struck at least one time, and that's what we know. We also know, based on our investigation at this point,
Okay,
that
that's tense.
this was not a random act. This was intentional.
I don't know about that. If it was so intentional, wouldn't the guy have done his homework and known that Nancy Pelosi wasn't there? I mean, if that's your intention, right? If your intention is to go and get somebody, wouldn't you know if they were at home or not? Now, granted, maybe this guy's a Zoolander knucklehead, but it doesn't seem right. If you've premeditated something like this, you're going to know whether that individual's there or not. You're going to have staked the place out. You're going to have, unless this guy is like just completely schizophrenic and just all of a sudden thought, I'm going to go and break the kneecaps of an 82-year-old woman that's the Speaker of the House and zip tie her up and do what? And then if she's not there, I'm going to end up in my underwear with a hammer in a wrestling match with an 82-year-old man. And, you know, what they said is that Pelosi made the call from the bathroom. That's what they initially said. Now, the story sounds like it's changed. Like I said, I guess I haven't done my due diligence. I figured once the police chief put out a statement on this that he wasn't going to go back and change all this shit. And judging from the, I'm guessing that is the prosecuting attorney of San Francisco. She looks very, very distraught. See the bags under her eyes? Now, maybe she hasn't gotten a lot of sleep. That's one thing. I'm sure probably not. But there are some stressful things. This guy is stressed to the max. The way he keeps looking at his notes, he is making sure that he doesn't miss a step. He's making sure that he is saying everything exactly as he's been told, because somebody laid this out for him. They said, this is what you're going to say, and you're going to say it verbatim. He's being very deliberate, and he keeps making, his body language is really a lot of stress, and I can understand it. So let's get back into it.
And it's wrong. Our elected officials are here to do the business of their cities, their counties, their states, and this nation.
Okay, do you see the head jerks? And then right where I paused it, he's tired. That dude is tired. He's worn out. He's exhausted. He's just trying to get through this because somebody, and look at the way the woman behind him. I believe that's the prosecuting attorney. She's probably from the whatever county that is. San Francisco, was that Marin County? She's from she's a state prosecutor, I would say.
Their families don't sign up for this to be harmed, and it is wrong.
It keeps looking down. It is wrong. Everybody knows that it's wrong. You don't have to say that. That's not his job. Is not. He's not a moral compass here. He's in charge of the police. To say that this is wrong, it's obviously what happened is wrong. Nobody's doubting that. No, nobody wanted to see. No, I don't know. I didn't want to see this happen. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the Pelosi family. I think that they're crooked. I think that they've been involved in a lot of nefarious things. I don't think that a person that's a public servant is worth, over $100 million. I don't even know how many homes they own. This is just one of them. So anyway, here we go again.
And everybody should be disgusted about what happened this morning.
Now he's throwing out some,
With that, we will take any questions, and we will only answer what we can answer.
He's had enough. He's had enough, and he's feigning this moral outrage, but I think what it is he's at a breaking point right now because this shit has gotten to him. He's going, why in the world? I don't even want to listen to the media's questions. I do want to see if I can find the original video, though, because he's saying some, he's definitely done some revising. Let's see if we can find the initial press conference. So we've got the DA. Okay, yep, that's the woman that was behind him as the DA. And I believe this. So he handled it in the same place. He's got a press room down there at the SFPD. That's a big job too, being chief of police at SFPD. Let's check this one out.
Okay. Good morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chief Bill Scott with the San Francisco Police Department. At approximately 2:27 this morning, San Francisco police officers were dispatched to the residence of Speaker Nancy Pelosi regarding.
Okay, so this is the initial press conference. All right. So this would be Friday the 28th.
An A priority well-being check. When the
Okay, do we hear that? Let's go back this up.
Bill Scott with the San Francisco Police Department. At approximately 2:27 this morning, San Francisco police officers were dispatched to the residence of Speaker Nancy Pelosi regarding an A-priority well-being check. When the officers...
You see the hesitation? You see how he's reading everything verbatim? This is the chief of police. This is a bright man. This is not... You're not a dummy to end up in this position. He doesn't need to look at his paper to say Speaker Pelosi. He knows damn good and well where the house is. I mean, he's been told, you're going to read this, and this is how you're going to read it. It's going to be just like this verbatim. This is what we want you to put out there, and this is what you're going to do. He should be able to get up there. I mean, have you ever watched Grady Judd, sheriff down in Florida? He doesn't need any cue cards. This guy, I'd be willing to bet, and previous press releases with him, I bet you he hasn't needed them either.
arrived on scene, they encountered an adult male and Mr. Pelosi's husband, Paul.
Mr. Pelosi.
Our officers observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. Our officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old David DePape. Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePape were transported to a local hospital for treatment. This is an active...
So right there, he said that they were both transported to a local hospital for treatment. But then on the other one that we just watched, it sounded like that didn't happen. So the thing has been revised. It's been changed. I could understand, okay, after certain things come to light, perhaps maybe you can, but he had, if this, I don't know what time exactly this was, West Coast time. I want to say it was around 10:30 a.m. And granted, it's a late night. Chief of police, he's probably not on duty at 2:30 in the morning, on a Friday night. I wouldn't guess he's probably at home with his family. He's probably in bed at 2:30 in the morning, I would imagine, unless he's the mayor of New York. So he probably woke up with all this information, and he probably didn't even hear about it until they put two and two together, realized who it was, and then I'm sure he got a call from probably not only his department, but I'd be willing to guess that he got a call from probably the FBI, and probably the U.S. Capitol Police, which is, it's weird that the U.S. Capitol Police would be the ones in charge of security at her San Francisco home. But I guess that the U.S. Capitol Police, since it's not a state, I don't know where they have jurisdiction. That's an interesting question. Does the U.S. Capitol Police have jurisdiction everywhere? I bet he got a call from the U.S. Marshals. Maybe. I bet there were some interesting characters on that scene. I bet there was. And he probably had to deal with all of them. But so he got briefed on everything, by this time. They would have known the details. I don't know why Paul Pelosi didn't, if in fact he made the phone call. Because to me it looks like somebody broke out of that house. When you look at that back door, and that big ass DePape did not go in through that screen. And to me, I could be wrong, but to me, what that looks like is you've got a series of French doors, and I'm guessing that each one of them has a screen door on the inside. It's San Francisco. You got bugs and shit everywhere. There's a lot of vegetation in that little backyard, whatever it is, courtyard, whatever. You got the terrace steps. There's glass all over the outside. Glass doesn't fly outside when you break into a door. And there had to have been a camera there. And yeah, he's not going to answer, but somebody should be accountable for this, because, they sure as hell had drone footage of the thing after it happened. I mean, I should zoom in on that a little bit more too, because I'd be willing to bet you can find a camera out there on that back patio. I just haven't looked that far yet.
Investigation currently being led by the San Francisco Police Department Special Investigations Division. We are working closely with our partners from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Capitol Police, and our district attorney here in San Francisco County, D.A. Brooke Jenkins.
Look at his body language here. Okay, there's a complete. He's lacking the nerves that he had with the revised edition, because the next one he's got his arms are like this on that podium. They're like this, and he keeps, when you slow it down, he's got this tense look, right? Like he's just kind of bewildered right now. But look at his arms, right? It's a totally. He's got a completely different presence right here. Completely different.
And her team. The motive for this attack is still being determined. Mr. DePape will be booked at the San Francisco County Jail on the following charges: attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several other additional felonies. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the responding officers for their swift action this morning. Those San Francisco police officers are Officer Colby Wilmus, Officer Kyle Cagney, and Sergeant Edmund Hoang. I'd also like to thank our emergency dispatcher, Heather Grimes, who's standing here to my left, for a really amazing job.
Now, he couldn't say her name in the second one, and he called the other officer, he called him Wong, not Huang. Obviously, he doesn't know all his officers. I don't even know how many. I mean, who knows how many police officers they have in the city of San Francisco? It's unreasonable to think that he would know every one of them. Let's hear what he has to say about the dispatch.
For inquiries regarding Mr. Pelosi and his condition, we refer you to the statement issued by Speaker Pelosi's office this morning. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins, for a few brief comments. And let me say in advance, this is what we know at this time. We will update you further, but we will not be able to take any questions after this statement.
Thank you, Chief Scott, and I do want to commend the San Francisco Police Department for their immediate response to this home and for swiftly making sure that Mr. Pelosi was okay and that the suspect was apprehended. We are working closely with them right now with respect to the investigation and will proceed with the appropriate charges as things unfold, as well as work with the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal partners.
Now, you go from this video, right? Now they're obviously they're in front of the cameras. Okay, that's got to be nerve-wracking. But when you have that position, that's where you're going to end up. It's going to happen. But you look at the body language of both of these individuals. You look at her body language in that last video that we were watching. You look at his body language. It's completely different, folks. And, you got to look at these things because they mean a lot. It means a lot, I mean, it's you can tell a lot by just slowing a video down and just watching the way somebody's behaving. I mean, we go back here to this other one, right? This is the first one we were watching, okay? Look at his hands. Look at the look on her face, right? I wish I could do a split screen on this right here, but I only have 2 monitors. It's the downfall of the MacBook Air. Great computer, but limited capabilities on the monitors. I do have another one over here, but I can't hook all 3 of them up at the same time. But you look at the look on her face right now. The look on her face is just, she looks like somebody that has just been through hell. Look at his arms the whole time out like this, right? You know what that shows, right? I mean, he's guarding himself, right? Like he's not happy about having to go back and issue this other statement. He is not happy about it. She's not happy with what's going on either. I think they both have been buffaloed here, and now they're being pushed to do some shit that they don't want to have to do. It's my take. I've been right so far on this. I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm right and this and that and the other thing, but I have been right in every step of the way on this thing. And this man, look at his eyes. Just the way he's, the way he's holding his face, his arms, the way she looks. This is completely. Let's see if we can go back to when he comes back out. See what the way his approach is.
To my right, and I have our Assistant Chief of Operations, Chief David Lazar, and our Deputy Chief of Investigations, Raj Vaswani, with me as well. So I want to start off by saying thank you again for being here, and I want to give you an update, as we said we would. It's given as much as
this stuff. Who else do you see do that? You used to see Jen Psaki do it all the time. You see Karine Jean-Pierre does it constantly. She lies every day. That's her job. She's a paid liar, just like a Hollywood actor. But this stuff, when you're doing this stuff, and he fumbles with his papers, he's always looking at the papers. He's been over this a million times. He's going through this scenario. How many times do you think? He knows the details. He's being given a script. He takes it up there with him. He didn't type all that shit up. Somebody gave that to him. He said he'd been in contact with the FBI, U.S. Capitol Police. Who knows how many other agencies. I mean, this dude is a dude that now he's nervous, he's distraught, and he's upset. Now, he could be lacking sleep. I'm sure he is. But I would be willing to guess that this man he's probably former military, so he's not, it's not like he's not used to being in a stressful situation. He's the chief of police of San Francisco, for Christ's sake. I mean, this guy is not like out of his element being in a stressful situation. And same with this, the attorney back there. She looks like she looks like she's been through some trauma.
we can talk about at this moment.
So you look at them both right here, all right? And we're just going to flip right back to the other one as quickly as I can. I wish I could put them up right next to each other. But I can't. So you're just going to have to bear with me. All right. Okay, here we go back to, this is numero uno.
Okay, good morning.
Okay, see how
We'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody.
he came into this one too, and I mean, he's tapping on the mic. He's like, oh, can we shut the door over there? Just to, he's cool. Like, see that look on his face right now? That's the look of somebody that really doesn't have anything to hide. He doesn't have anything to, I mean, he's not concerned. I mean, he's obviously, this is a screwed up scenario, but it's okay. He's going to just get up there and he's going to say what he has to say. I mean, look.
My name is Chief Bill Scott with the San Francisco Police Department.
He's not showing that deflection.
At approximately 2:27 this morning, San Francisco Police.
The gate of his speech, everything's different. So I'm not going to go any further with this. I just wanted to show all you that you can certainly see this stuff if you stop and pay attention to the way people behave, the way they act, and I got fairly good at that by, just from doing time, because you got to learn how to read people, because in that scenario you're very guarded all the time. You never know who's trying to get over on you. You never know who's lying to you, and you have to pick up on those things, and I got pretty good at it. And this guy, there's certainly, beyond any doubt in my mind, there's a big, huge difference in the demeanor of both those individuals. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I've gone on long enough. I had some other things I wanted to discuss, but I'll probably do that, maybe catch up later tonight or something. This thing is just kind of compelling to me because it's at a weird time. It's so close to these, the elections of your lives and all that. And it's a curiosity. I mean, the whole thing, there's just weird things. The fact that the dude's ex and the mother of his children is in prison for abduction of a 14-year-old boy. Who was the 14-year-old boy? They said she worked in childcare. Did she have any, was there any priors with this? I mean, how long is she doing? How did the press know to get to her right away like they did? I mean, they got right on her to get the statement from her. To which she said that he'd always been mentally ill. Well, how are you going to, how's she got credibility? She's in there for abducting a 14-year-old boy. We also know she's been arrested because when she got married naked on the street in San Francisco, they said that they got arrested for public indecency. I mean, her name is Oxane, Oxane, Taub, Taub, and she goes by Gypsy. Let's see what happens when we, just out of curiosity's sake. Yeah, there's all kinds of clips of her. And she's getting married to this squirrely dude. And then that big boy there, the guy that whacked Pelosi with the hammer, he's sitting there and he's got both their hands. He's acting like he's almost like the minister of this shit or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's see. I mean, ABC is interviewing her. So she was in Alameda County. Okay, this is Oxane Taub versus City and County of San Francisco. Is it San Francisco County? I always thought it was Marin County, but that might be outside of San Francisco. So she's saying that he's mentally ill, but she's saying that from prison. Okay, so she had a plea agreement here with the Department of Justice. So this is DOJ. This is federal shit right here. This is not, she's in trouble with federal. This is United States District Court of Rhode Island. Oh wait, this is a Harold Russell. Okay, never mind. This is a different Taub. Why does it come up on her name though? That's weird. Never mind. I'm just trying to see how many. I mean, these people have been in lots of trouble. It looks like. Yeah, here we go. This is the Gypsy. Okay, United States Court of Appeals, 9th Circuit. It's 9th Circuit Court. That's fucking federal. And then it says George Davis, plaintiff appellant. Okay. Self-described body freedom advocate. Oh, her and George Davis. Okay, they're the plaintiffs here. Self-described body freedom advocates, otherwise nudists, appealed the dismissal of their claims under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 against the City and County of San Francisco and the San Francisco Police Department. Alleged the defendants violated their First Amendment rights by enforcing San Francisco Public Nudity Ordinance. They violated their First Amendment rights. It's freedom of speech, not freedom to, go wandering around with your winky all fucking flopping around everywhere. I mean, going out nude in public is not really it's not necessarily freedom of speech. I don't think that's covered under the First Amendment. I mean, I guess it's open to interpretation. I would figure if anybody would say that was a violation of freedom of speech, it would have been in the 9th District because that's the most liberal court in the country. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to do some more reading on this. I won't bore y'all. Probably bored y'all enough anyways. So anyway, on that, I'm going to get out of here. I'll have a good day. I'm going to probably come back a little bit later. If anybody has any commentary on this, please feel free to share. Like, subscribe, if you would. It helps me out a lot. Maybe bring me back from being shadow banned. Not that it really matters that much anyways, but anyway, all right. So, as we always say, be good at it, and all things be kind, and do no harm. I'm your host, Michael File, from the Mike Files, 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming. Peace.